This girl wearing a crown is a leading ballerina of a major theater in Russia. With that graceful figure, she has countless powerful and wealthy people who want to get close to her every day. But this girl named Dominica's heart is solely dedicated to dancing. Because her mother's leg is sick, in order to get free physical therapy and housing provided by the theater, Dominica is forced to maintain her peak in her dancing career. But how can life always be smooth sailing? While Dominica is standing on the magnificent stage, graceful, dancing as usual, her nightmare has come. Her leg was accidentally broken by her dance partner's stomp. By the time Dominica woke up, she was already lying in a hospital bed. Her leg was held in place by metal rods. It could be seen that she had just had surgery. Dominica understood that her dancing career was over. 3 months later, Dominica was discharged from the hospital. By this time, she could walk on her own. When she returned home, she found an additional person in the house. It was her Uncle Ivan visiting the two of them. Uncle Ivan is the deputy director of the intelligence agency. Because his work is busy, he doesn't often visit the two of them. When Dominica made tea for Ivan, he offered to help her in terms of work and also left a document. Unsurprisingly, the street was still bustling. After Ivan left, Dominica immediately returned to her room to look at the file. She found a tape recorder and a stack of photos. The tape recorder contained a recording of a conversation between her male dance partner and another dancer. It turned out that another woman coveted Dominica's position, so she seduced her partner and plotted to break her leg in order to steal her position. Dominica, in a fit of anger, ran to the theater. She found the despicable pair in the bathroom. Then, she took a stick and beat them both up. After that, Dominica ran out of the theater in a panic. Afraid of causing a murder, she didn't forget to call an ambulance. After finishing that, she immediately returned home and found her mother painfully sitting on the ground. It turned out that the conservatory had stopped paying for care. The caregiver who always took care of her mother no longer came to work. To take care of her mother, and in order to stay in this city, Dominica decided to go find Uncle Ivan to see if there were any opportunities. But Ivan, being a sly old fox in the Russian intelligence agency, would never help anyone for nothing. Even if it was his own niece, she would have to do something for him first. Ivan told Dominica to come at 9 p.m. on Friday to a large hotel, take a bath, put on a formal dress that had been prepared long ago, and then sit in the most eye-catching spot in the bar lounge to attract the attention of the tycoon, Utanop, strike up a conversation with him, and then enter the hotel room together. While he wasn't paying attention, swap the phones. But unexpectedly, Utanop was very rough with her. Just as he was about to do something untoward, an assassin wearing a helmet appeared behind him, using a wire to sever his neck. Dominica, at this point, was terrified, only knowing to obediently listen to the assassin's instructions, following behind the person. The assassin used a silenced gun to shoot out the door lock, leading Dominica down to the parking garage. After dealing with the bodyguard, he drove a motorcycle, bringing Dominica to a hotel, into a room. The assassin removed the helmet. Dominica sees his real face, and just then, the owner also entered the room, who was none other than Ivan, Dominica's uncle. Ivan, at this point, seemed like a different person, cold and indifferent. He said that because Dominica had seen the assassin act and also seen the assassin's face, he only had two paths for Dominica to choose from. The first was to be sent for professional training to become a spy for Russia. The second was to be written off. Obviously, Dominica could only choose the first path. Before going for training, she went home to say goodbye to her mother. Her mother only told her daughter one important thing. Regarding the uncle like a devil, she must protect herself well and not cut off all her escape routes. The car that picked Dominica up drove on the highway. Snow covered the road. Dominica knew clearly that after this trip, her life would undergo earth-shattering changes. She couldn't go back anymore. Dominica was taken to a cold, harsh land, Russia's secret military school number 4 in Siberia. The female instructor who greeted her first gave her a book of school rules. Under any circumstances, do not reveal your real name or any other personal information. Understand? Yes, ma'am. In the school, all students are called sparrows. They are all young men and women sent from all over the streets and alleys. One of the lessons in this school is how to find the weaknesses of the opponent and exploit them. After the female instructor finished speaking, she called Dominica and another male student up front, telling them both to strip naked in front of the whole class. Dominica looked at the female instructor in disbelief, but the female instructor told her that from the moment they were born, their bodies belonged to the country. In order to repay the country, they had to forget their dignity and morality. In addition to having to learn how to forget dignity, Dominica also learned all kinds of skills such as shooting, lockpicking, tracking, and so on. And just like her uncle Ivan had said, Dominica seemed naturally a good seed to become a spy. Every subject was excellent, but because she was always outstanding like a phoenix, it caused jealousy and envy from those around her. That day, while Dominica was showering, suddenly a naked male student pinned her against the wall. This person had been dissatisfied with Dominica for a long time, so this time he wanted to conquer her through despicable means. But Dominika couldn't be so easily conquered. She grabbed the steel wiper blade, knocking the opponent down, beating him until he was covered in tomato sauce. This event also led to the principal calling Dominika into his office to talk. But strangely, he didn't blame her for hitting the student. On the contrary, he only said that he and his wife had once watched her perform. He only told her that actually there are many paths in life, then told her to leave. But the female instructor didn't let this matter go. In class, she called Dominika to the podium again, then also called the male student she had defeated, telling Dominika to give him what he really wanted. The other party told Dominika to turn around, but Dominika refused, directly taking everything off right in front of him. He saw Dominika so frank that on the contrary, he lost the desire to possess her. He put on his clothes and left like a loser. In fact, Dominika had seen what this guy wanted, which was power. The principal felt that this student had mastered reading other people's inner thoughts, so he let her graduate and sent her back to Russia. When Dominika just arrived home, not even having time to talk with her mother, Ivan's phone call came. Her mother felt that perhaps Dominika would forever be unable to escape from Ivan's claws. But in her heart, Dominika secretly vowed that she must find a way to leave. Dominika went to a restaurant and sure enough met the uncle she didn't want to see the most. Ivan gave her a mission. It turned out that a few months ago, Nars, a spy in the American CIA, had secretly met his informant in a park in Russia to exchange intelligence. Suddenly, they bumped into a patrolling police car. Seeing the informant being stopped by the police car, in order to protect the informant from being exposed, Nars directly pulled out a gun and fired several shots, attracting the attention of the police, successfully rescuing the informant. Nars fled straight to the American embassy, also successfully saving his life. Nat returned to America for a period of time, but now, Russian security agencies have discovered him in Budapest, Europe. Wanting to find out who the informant for him really is, Ivan decided to send Dominika to approach Nat, gain his trust, and finally, find out the news about the traitor. Actually, Dominika didn't want to be Ivan's spy. Wanting her to complete the mission with peace of mind, he drew her a pie in the sky. As long as she completed this mission, he would release her, no longer controlled. Having no other way, Dominika had no choice but to go to Budapest, staying in the housing of the Russian Security Bureau. Sharing a room was a senior spy, Mata. As a senior who had worked here for many years, Mata kindly reminded Dominika that the station chief here was a lecherous old man. When dealing with him, one should pay attention. Sure enough, Mata was right. He saw Dominika, and his eyes lit up. Finding an opportunity, he deliberately crowded close to her. But Dominika didn't care about these lecherous characters. She learned from the information in the documents that NAS liked to swim every day, so she secretly followed him from the pool for a whole day. In the evening, she dyed her hair blonde. The next day, she also registered a card at that pool. When filling out the personal information, Dominika hesitated for a moment, finally tearing up the registration form with the fake name, then writing her real name on it. This was equivalent to revealing her true identity to the other party. Dominika walked past Nat wearing a sexy swimsuit, wanting to deliberately attract his attention. Sure enough, when leaving the pool, Nat called her back. But unexpectedly, in reality, Nat had discovered her existence since yesterday, and even recognized that she had dyed her hair. This showed that he knew Dominika was deliberately approaching him. Dominika got on the bus with a slightly tense mood. But when the bus drove away, she revealed a smile. The next day, Dominika still went to the pool as usual, but didn't see Nars anywhere. Even when she returned the key, the staff couldn't find her information form anywhere. It turned out that her registration form had been stolen by Nat. Nat investigated Dominika's real information, then reported it to his superiors. They had learned that she was previously a ballerina, and more importantly, she was the niece of the deputy director of the Russian Security Bureau. Moreover, Nat felt that this woman used her real name straight, which certainly had hidden motives. Many reasons made him decide to try whether he could win over this woman. The next day, at an international networking event, Nest met Dominika again. The two had learned about each other's situation, beginning to talk without any reservations. Nest expressed very clearly that he wanted to be friends with her, so the two made an appointment to have dinner together the next day. In the evening, Dominika returned home, finding that Mata wasn't in the room. So she secretly opened Mata's room and searched it thoroughly. Finally, she found an oily paper bag in a crevice in the corner of the wall. Inside were many intimate photos of Mata and a woman, an American woman. A diary recorded that this woman was the chief of staff of the U.S. Senate. At this time, Dominika heard the sound of the door opening downstairs. It was Mata returning. Dominika still took the opportunity to flip through a few more pages of the diary, discovering on another page that Mata was about to conduct an intelligence transaction worth $250,000 with this person in London. As Mata entered the room, Dominika stepped out of her room. Mata handed her a piece of paper. It turned out that Dominika had refused the station chief's request to invite her to bed, so this petty person had snitched straight to the Russian Security Bureau, saying that Dominica hadn't made any progress. Dominica also felt anxious. She knew clearly what the consequences would be if she was held accountable. So the next evening, she didn't go to dinner with Nat as scheduled, but secretly followed Nat home, knowing his address. Dominica decided to hurry straight up to his face to get closer. She squeezed out a few fake tears, then rang the doorbell of Enas's house. Dominica pretended to be pitiful, slowly approaching Nat, preparing to use her looks to seduce him, gaining his trust. But unexpectedly, Nat didn't take the bait, only telling Dominica to think carefully about what she really wanted. Having tasted failure for the first time, not grasping the other person's psychology, she made an appointment to meet Nat again the next day, then left dejectedly. The next day, Dominica stood in front of the pool entrance, waiting left and right, waiting here and there, still not seeing Nat appear. Having no other way, she still had to shoulder the mission, only struggling to Nest's house again. She used her superb lockpicking skills to open the door to the room. Knight searched for a while in the house, but didn't find anything useful. Just as she was about to leave, she inadvertently saw the 2 glasses of wine from the previous evening still placed on the table. The empty glass was Nat's. Dominica was silent for a while, as if plotting something, then took the glass with Natri's fingerprint. Waiting until she returned home, Dominica was shocked to see that Ivan had arrived here. It turned out that these were all results of the station chief snitching. Iran, as Dominica's superior, originally intended to come to Vienna for a learning conference, but ended up going around to this place to ask Dominica what was happening. Due to the fact that she hadn't made any progress with Nest and hadn't obtained any useful information, in a moment of panic, she told Iran about Marta's upcoming transaction of $250,000 with the Americans, and also falsely said that this matter was done together by her and Marta. She wanted Iran to put out the $250,000 first. She also knew that Ivan could afford it. Ivan understood that the news intelligence was not of light weight, temporarily overlooking Dominica, preparing to leave. Just as she reached the door, she remembered that she forgot to take her coat. Dominica actively went in to get it for him. But when she went in to get the coat for him, she felt for the passport, opened it, read it carefully, quickly memorized the passport number, then put it back in the coat. After seeing Ivan off, Dominica turned around and went inside, seeing Master standing in front of her holding a gun. It turned out that the conversation between the two had been overheard. Mata questioned Dominica why she wanted to seize the target that she had spent more than a year to achieve. Dominica knew Mata was a senior female spy on the front line, suffering desperately, completely unable to come up with a large sum of money like $250,000, but she could. She could make the director of the Russian Security Bureau put out money, helping Mata complete this transaction. Mata didn't understand why Dominica had to risk her life to complete the mission like this. What weakness did she ultimately have in the hands of the organization? So Dominica recounted what had happened before. She had seen the assassin under Ivan's command harming the Russian tycoon. This matter cannot be told to anyone. If revealed, Dominica will definitely be silenced. But this action of hers indirectly harmed Master's life. After this storm, Dominica went to the train station to buy a ticket to Vienna, then went to the door of a local bank. Looking through the glass, Dominica aimed at a young male employee who looked quite naive as prey. Waiting until the bank closed, Dominica pretended to rush over to register a new account, and the person in charge of locking the door was the male employee she had aimed at. After being invited by a pitiful beauty, just drinking coffee while filling out the account registration information, the employee who didn't have too much social experience agreed with that side. Mata came to find the station chief of the intelligence station. Because she still held hatred in her heart, she revealed Dominica's weakness to this twisted person who liked to snitch. Dominica, covered in dust from the road, returned to the residence in Budapest, but didn't see Master in the room, and the bathroom door was ajar. She tiptoed closer, opened the door. The assassin who had harmed the tycoon before reappeared. It turned out that Mata had been brutally killed by him. He spared Dominica for the sake of her being Ivan's niece, so he didn't act viciously towards her, but he also warned Dominica if anyone else knew that he had harmed the tycoon, then the next person lying in the bathtub would be her. After he told Dominica to report to the police, he also left. After the local police investigated, they didn't find any useful information. Dominica was released. The person standing in front of the police station to greet her was Nat, who had been missing for a long time. It turned out that these days, Nat had received a report from a teammate, going to a secret location to meet. The important news he received this time was that Dominica was a beautiful spy, the legendary sparrow secretly trained by Russia, so he directly revealed his cards to Dominica, comparing the differences in intelligence structures between Russia and America, condemning the cruel and ruthless aspects of the Russian Security Bureau towards its own people. Nat hoped to persuade Dominica to switch sides, joining Team 5 for their service. Nat assured her that he would protect her, as he had protected his informant. Dominica also wavered because of that sentence. Long work for Syria, so Nest took her to a safe base in Syria in Budapest. Here were also 2 Syrian leaders waiting for her. To prevent any accidents, for safety reasons, they wore detectors, lying to Dominica, asking many questions to judge whether she was really willing to join the US government. But this type of check was not effective for spies who had been thoroughly trained. After the check, Dominika also put forward her conditions. She needed the CIA to transfer $30,000 to her account in VN every month. The CIA felt Dominika was a bit greedy. Before she had brought back any valuable intelligence, she dared to arrogantly demand money. So Dominika directly said the matter of the Chief of Staff of the US Senate wanting to sell missiles. This heavy bomb directly made all the members in the room dumbfounded. They didn't dare to ignore this Russian female spy anymore. Friday came, the day of the transaction. Dominika went to the designated hotel in London. $250,000 had been prepared in the room, which the Russian Security Bureau had prepared. In the secret compartment of the desk, there was also a fake disc from Syria, prepared for Dominika to go down to the hotel bar, waiting for the Chief of Staff of the US Senate to appear. The result was unexpected. An uninvited guest appeared, the lecherous old man, Station Chief Maxim. It turned out that he wasn't at ease about the transaction, so he deliberately came here to help. But in Dominika's heart, she knew clearly that this was eyes and ears sent by Ivan. Dominika saw this person and was very annoyed, immediately sending him into the room. Just a moment later, the Chief of Staff Stefani arrived. Dominika went to sit next to her first, introducing herself as the person of the transaction today. The other party saw that it wasn't the familiar Mata, so she started to be cautious, planning to leave the hotel. But Dominika had thoroughly investigated the other party, knowing that Stefani actually needed money very much. She once again showed her ability to control people's hearts, using her boneless tongue of many twists and turns to persuade Stefani to enter the room to trade with her. Stefani was originally very cautious, but after seeing a bag full of money, she was so happy. She didn't know what caution was anymore, handing the disc containing the missile information to Dominika. Dominika went to the desk, wanting to open the secret compartment under the desk, but at this time it was stuck and couldn't be opened, trying several times before finally opening it. Dominika started to swap the fake for the real, but the operation time was a bit long, causing Maxim to start to suspect. Seeing that he was preparing to go over to check, the US agent who had been observing in the next room couldn't sit still anymore, hurrying out of the room, going to ring the doorbell of Dominika's room, pretending to be the hotel manager, asking about customer ratings, giving Dominika more time to act. Finally, with the cooperation of the veteran US agent, Dominika also successfully swapped white for black. She had completed the transaction with Stefani. Before leaving, she also told her to leave here in an hour. But unexpectedly, the second Dominika left, Stephanie was already tipsy. Immediately carrying the bag of money, she left the hotel. Standing waiting for the red light, she lit a cigarette, unexpectedly discovering that both sides had people from the US agent following her. Stefani was frightened, hurriedly throwing the bag of money into the trash can, then staggering to the other side of the road. But unexpectedly, an uncle was from a car came down, towards her safari. Knowing that she had been exposed, she slowly retreated backwards. The result was a truck speeding towards her. This unexpected situation was also seen by people from the Russian Security Bureau sitting ready at the hotel entrance. He hurriedly called back to report. Maxim received the call, immediately telling the driver to turn straight to the airport. He told Dominika that the director of the Security Bureau wanted to congratulate them, so he decided to fly back to Moscow immediately. He demanded the disc and passport with the Dominika from the site. She recognized the signal danger, immediately knew something that happened again, but now it was only possible for her to feign calm. After receiving the disc, hotel just want to go to get on with it from his superiors. Also the story of Stefani being a shot. His head twitched, because he knew this situation would surely cause the matter of, it is the CIA agent to be exposed. Life, she's hard to keep. He quickly drove his car to the airport. I hope I can save Dominika. He broke into the airport hall with a gun just barely caught. Dominika is lined up to enter the departure hall, and Dominika was already on her way to turn her head to look for the date. She shook her head with him. Signal for him not to act rashly. Nat was only able to give up. He was deeply hurt. He knew perfectly well that Dominika was traveling on a trip to a little ill. Back to the General Security Bureau, one prosecutor asked her, is it that she had leaked the news to the Americans or not? Dominika, of course, yes. Hit first isn't superfluous to see how hard-headed Ivan had been watching. The screen immediately ordered on the phone. Directly use shapes with the granddaughter of the other person. Dominika was stripped naked, put in prison. Cold water constantly poured on people. She was taken into the interrogation room again. The question is the same. Is it that she had revealed information to the Americans? Dominika's answer is still negative. This time it was what she was going to suffer from. Then they give Dominika a segment of the video. The name Maxim returned with, she had her head pierced, and then the prosecutor drew his gun, also stepping out behind her asking the question for the last time. But Dominika didn't admit to the sound of the trigger. The gun had no bullets. Dominika was resurrected afraid of being such a physiological reaction of bowing over vomiting. At this time, Ivan appeared in front of her to tell Dominika to tell the truth. But Dominika said all that she'd done are to complete the original task. What Iran had given, she did so only to gain the trust of the Americans. Finally able to get information from the reporter, Kia Evan heard, "Then there's no way you can refute Sparrow in order to complete the task to do anything. Also, is this a normal thing or not? Are you okay? Look at her pitiful granddaughter." Ivan softened. So Dominika escaped death, a miraculous escape temporarily released. And Ivan, when reporting the situation with the chief, both the chief and the principal are that Dominika is defrauding Ivan, this Sparrow. "You must have developed feelings with the Syrian special agent." Ivan was under pressure immediately expressed. Once discovered the evidence Dominika betrayed, must kill her. Evan came back home. See, the granddaughter has sat in the house waiting for himself. Dominika came to say goodbye to her uncle before leaving. But this time she also used her charm skills with her uncle. Perhaps a long time ago she knew the man as her family. Still had thoughts of unease with myself. Dominika went back to Budapest again. Returned to her side. She knew definitely Nat won't say the name of the reporter. So in the end, she will definitely die. She wanted to think of it to be protected. At the same time asked for more money. Want $250,000. Kia will be transferred to the account in VN. Nars agreed with all of her requests at this moment. Finally, Nars has also been defeated by this Russian girl in front of her when Dominika came close to kiss him again. He wasn't rejecting anymore. After the screen is on, Dominika woke up in bed but didn't see Nas at the side. When she opened the door to the kitchen, then she had seen the assassin with the steel wire, tightened the neck. Nars. Dominika immediately understood. The current situation is Ivan waiting no longer, so she also went to cooperate with the assassin. Tied hands, nest into assassin. Temporarily loosen the steel wire, but takes a bag of skinning tools out. Is equipment dedicated to replacing skin for burn. Patience? In the hospital, he wants to torture slowly, until he say the name of the reporter. Kia Dominika. Expressionlessly. Look at the assassin, tortured NAS. Even help the assassin hold people close. Nas saw NES won't say anything. Dominika told the assassin to take the equipment to him. Make yourself also try. But she, the time the assassin lost his guard, turned around to go suddenly explode. Turns out that she's just pretending to cooperate, just waiting for the opportunity to save Nas. The assassin surged to use a sharp knife to slice Nas and Dominika. Nat burst to fight with him. Dominika seized the chance to cut off the assassin's tendons. The assassin fell on the ground. A crashing sound couldn't stand up. Dominika then rushed, completely resolved as well. Waiting for Dominika to wake up, had been in the hospital bed, health has nothing to worry about. But the biggest problem that caused her a headache now is, how will he live now? The assassin, no more, shows that she definitely betrayed. And the time she was aching head, then a person not expecting to appear in front of her teacher principal. Dominika thought he came here to finish you. But he told her that he was the reporter undercover, that his wife had cancer. The Russian government doesn't allow doctors Americans operate on her. Heard his wife must leave him very soon. This is the reason why he betrayed. But just doing it like this, he was also tired already. He saw out that Dominika has the potential to continue her career. So she asked her to open him up. As such, Dominika can continue to live. It is also possible to take his place and continue to do for the CIA. A big turning point has emerged. Dominika then started acting. First of all, she voluntarily confessed to the Budapest police, admitting that she had sent them back to heaven. Also asked to meet the Russian embassy. When they met the people of the embassy, Dominika requested to be called for the director of the security bureau. She wants to directly report the name of the object. Want to use this news to exchange for his life. Dominika report the name of the leeward for the chief over the phone. And on that side, the teacher principal came back home. Did not lock the door, just sat on the sofa quietly waiting for the people to get. Dominika was taken by the police to Syria airport. Has been waiting here for a long time. Nest quietly looking at her. And her eyes were full of hope. This woman will finally finish the task. At this time, a Russian helicopter flew. The opponent with them. Both. The names are leeward. The time Nars asked for the side of the water, Russia removed the headgear for determining who had the body. The people who were brought to isn't the teacher principal. But it was Ivan at this time. Nat knew Dominika was lied to them. But at this time, he also can't reveal they determined that it was exactly the target they want to exchange. It turned out that the name that Dominika had disclosed to the chief was not the teacher principal, but his uncle Ivan, and the chief, after sending people to investigate, also discovered in the house, Ivan has used a glass of wine. Besides, they also discovered Ivan with a secret account in VN. The Americans have transferred $250,000 in it. Information is encoded from the Iran site. Retrieving at Dominika's also is. A series of evidence have caused Evan without a road back, no way out. His grandson has harmed the quality of the product so that I'm doing very well. Do not focus on the quality. Iran said the last sentence next to the ear. Dominica? Then, continue to go toward the Americans. But Russia? How can truthfully release the name of the traitor to leave? Peaceful safely. They had long already ambushed, ready to give Iran one on the head. Dominica was taken to Russia, become patriotic hero new generation, and the teacher principal also sat below, clap with satisfaction about her. Just like that, Dominica replaced the trust in yourself to become the director of the Russian Security Bureau. And she has also become the spy sparrow. Two-layer the peak is most. Continue to wander between the two countries, Russia and America. For survival, she still must continue the game.